Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I am so excited for this week's topic. I hope you can feel it because just like everything else, like everything is so important. And when I really stepped into this week's topic was when like I embodied and did the model, right? Like I embodied myself and I like learned and like focused on loving myself and nourishing myself, right? And then this week are stepping into our highest self. So many times we make decisions, right, based on victimhood or based on something that has happened to us, right? It's happened to us, right? Instead of rather thinking about it as it's happened for us. And so this week we are looking at our highest self. Who are we at our highest self? What do we act like? What do we talk like? How do we view ourselves? What do we think like? What do we do? And the beautiful thing about our highest self, and this was like a big epiphany and realizations for me, is our highest self doesn't just show up when things are good and things are easy, right? Our highest self shows up also when things aren't going well, right? When your partner triggers you, when you get a flat tire, when your phone bill is way, way, way more than it should be. Not talking from any personal experience or anything. But it is also in those moments where we get to say, okay, I have a choice here. How do I want to show up? What action, what reaction is going to create the most proud feeling and the most respected feeling? When I look in the mirror, I'm going to be proud and respect myself more because of how I handled it. But we have to get really clear on this. So we already know what our values are. We know what our priorities are, right? We understand what our thinking is based on the model. And so now, in order to create that person, right, who are they? And so I hope that you go ahead and grab your pen and paper if you don't already have it. And we're going to be going through of creating your highest self. What is she like? All right, so I want you to just take a second, maybe pause this and just like take a breath, all right? And imagine yourself as the highest self. And an analogy that I loved, right, that one of my amazing friends and clients uses is like, who is the woman or the person across the river that you can see? Right? And you can see what she's like and you can feel her energy, and she feels so far away, but she's literally just across the river, and you just have to figure out how to cross that river, and she's right there. So take a second, take a couple deep breaths, maybe put your hand over your heart and get quiet and just ask yourself, what is my highest self like? How do I describe them? And I want you to go ahead and pause this and take a second to think about it. So you felt, right, what she is like. How would you describe her? What are the qualities that she has? What are the qualities of the woman, of the person, of your highest self? Pause this. All right, so you know how you would describe her. You know the qualities that she would have, right? You know what she's like. How does the highest version of yourself feel in their life? So again, like close your eyes, picture that person. And what does her life feel like, right? She feels, for me, she feels free and peaceful and joyful and abundant and patient. And she has a trusting and a knowing that everything is on its way. So I want you to go ahead and pause this, take a second, and tap it to her or him or them. So now you have all of those things, right? I want you to imagine, like, take yourself through a day in the life of the person that's your highest self. From the moment they get up to the moment they go to sleep, right? On an ideal day where everything is going their way. I want you to write out the day. And so you have your ideal day, right? But I want you also to ask yourself, how do they show up when things aren't going well, right? When you have a fight with your partner, when you get feedback at work, right? When there's things that are working against you, how do you still show up as your highest self when you get a flat tire or a speeding ticket? And I want you to go through and I want you to like think of everything that could go wrong, right? If you lose your job, right? Or you start a business and it doesn't go quite as planned. How is the highest version of you going to show up in each of these situations? And I want you to take a minute to brainstorm and think of as many things. And then I want you to go through and I want you to write how your highest self handles each of these situations. Pause this and do that. I want you to ask yourself, how does your highest self take care of you? What does self-care look like? How much time is it that's realistic in your life? How much time do you want to carve out for it? What do you do in order to practice self-care? I'll tell you an example of mine, right? It doesn't look like where I'm in the van right now. And that's because I'm not. I'm in a hotel room. And the reason why I'm in a hotel room, right, is because I was feeling exhausted and depleted. And I was like pouring myself into everyone else. And I felt very much overwhelmed and out of control. And I knew that I needed grounding and I needed space and I needed time alone. So I bit the bullet and I paid for a hotel room for 2 nights for myself as Robbie stays in the van, because I knew that to be the best partner, to be the best coach, to be the best leader that I know that I am in my life, and to be the best version of me, it meant time and space by myself, that I could nourish myself in the way that I wanted. And this is how my highest self treats me. Was it easy? No. I'm still reprogramming myself. But I also know that this is what I needed in order to show up for myself in the highest way that I could, and for all of you. So this is an example of how I treat myself, right? And maybe I won't have access to a hotel, right? I might not have the means for a hotel or the time, but in essence, I created time and space for myself. And what does it look like for you? As your highest self, how do you take care of you? Pause this and answer that. So you know how you want to feel in your life. You know how she acts on the best days, on the hardest days. You know what her qualities are, right? You've depicted this picture, right? What does she look like? How does she carry herself? How does she stand and walk? How does she dress? And I want you to think of the best way for you. For me, it means that I dress comfortably and confident, that I wear clothes that are functional, right? But that I feel good in. It doesn't look like me dressing up and doing my hair every day or doing my makeup every day, right? But it does look like me, what the foods that I put into my body, and working out, right? And showering and putting on clothes that I feel comfortable and confident in. That's what it looks like for me. So what does it look like for you. And I also know that none of you follow me for my fashion sense, right? Like that's not my thing. And I never think I really want it to be my thing. Maybe it will one day, but each of us are different. So I want you to think it doesn't have to look like mine, right? Or anyone else's. I want it to look like yours, your highest self, and how she looks and dresses and carries herself. Pause this and go. So now you have all of these things, right? How does your highest self think in her everyday life? What are the stories and the narratives that she tells herself to empower herself? So I want you, what does she think and what does she tell herself or himself or themselves? Pause this, go. So now, how does she show up? How does she show up like a boss, right? In whatever that looks like for you, right? In your relationship, in your career, for your health, for yourself, for your children, right? In your creativity. How does your highest self show up and what actions does she take? Pause this if you haven't and go. So now I want you to go back to how she feels in her life, how he, them feel in their life. And I want you to take a few minutes to find 5 pieces of evidence in your life for each feeling of how you already have it in your life. And we've talked about this before, right? It's not when this happens, then I'll feel this way. It's about creating that feeling in your life right now. And the more you feel it, the more change is going to happen because your circumstance doesn't need to change in order for your experience of your circumstance to change. You get to dictate your experience by how you feel, meaning that how you view and what you focus on and what you think about your circumstance determines your experience. So if you want to feel these ways in your life, I want you to see how you already feel these ways right now. And I've already used this, I think, earlier on, but how when I wanted to quit my job and I wanted to feel freedom, I had to find how I felt freedom already in my life. Because if I didn't find freedom already in my life when I was working 60 to 80-hour work weeks and waking up at 3:30 in the morning, then even in times like right now, I wouldn't exercise my freedom because I would not have had the knowledge to find freedom even when things got hard. So if you're looking for connection in your life and you want more connection and your highest self has connection, how do you already have connection in your life? If you want abundance, how do you already have abundance, right? And maybe it might not be monetarily, maybe you have an abundant amount of people in your life, abundant amount of opportunity. Because the universe does not pick and choose where there's abundance or where there's freedom or where there's peace or where there's connection. The universe does not say like, oh, you can have abundance in this area, but not in this area. You can have peace in this area, but not in that area. Freedom in this, but not in that. That is not how the universe works. The universe works in you have all of the abundance, all of the freedom, all of the peace, all of the joy, but you have to unblock yourself, take those blinders off of how you have only seen it this far. You need to take those off and allow yourself to see how it is in every area of your life. So I want you right now, find 5 pieces of evidence about how you feel these ways already in your life. And this is, I want you to post this in the group. How do you feel this way in your life already? Pause this, go. And so lastly, how can you begin to step into your highest self starting this week? Regardless of where you are, how can you begin to step into your highest self starting now? I want you to come up with 3 to 5 ways of how you can begin to step into her, him, them. Pause this, go. what I want you to know, you are them already. That person, if you can imagine it, then you can become it because it is already a part of you. This is unlearning all of the habits, all of the beliefs that you have adapted and brought in and put on as armor to protect yourself. And it has served you. It has gotten you to where you are, but it is not what you need in order to grow. And so realizing your highest self is unpeeling the armor and allowing your essence, allowing these things to come through in every way. Show up as this, not perfectly, because you are perfectly imperfect, but show up in the best way that you know you can with what you have every day. And not every day are you going to feel 100%. That's unrealistic. But I want you to give 100% of whatever you do have that day. And if that day you are at 30% capacity, then I want you to give me 100% of that 30% capacity. And you're not giving it to me. You're giving it to you, to your life, to the change that you want to see, to the people in your life. Give them 100% of the capacity at which you are, and watch your life change. Because you, my friend, are worthy. You are so worthy of feeling this way in your life. You are them. Everything you need is inside of you, and it's time to remember that. And we do that by doing these exercises. So excited for this week. Post in the group. Bring this to the live, and I cannot wait to see what is created. Have an amazing rest of your day.